One evening we're driving back from Dallas and we kind of looked coming over the hill where Castaway Cove is now, and you could see the lights of the city. It was just a beautiful thing. And we kind of simultaneously looked at each other and said, this is it, isn't it? That's my home. That's my home. That's probably the best way to put it.
Community for a child is a lot of different things.
Well, I just want to see people taken care of. That's what I want to see.
These are our students, and they are our future.
There's a lot of things that aren't balanced in the city, but that's why we're here today, is to try to even those things up.
I want people to appreciate the city of Wichita Falls and our little smaller surrounding communities.
But it's going to take time, because when you're used to being in a certain position, it's kind of hard just to rip you up.
Unless you've actually walked in the shoes, you have no idea. You have no idea how to even keep the mud off road.
I think that not only District 5, but District 2 as well has been neglected.
We need better parks. We need better quality of life.
I think we need a lot of work, road work, a lot of lighting, more covered bus stops. We've got our last one on Iowa Park Road is at United, and we got 3 more that I've just seen people sitting out there in the sun, under an umbrella. I think we all should be treated equal.
We have Shepherd Air Force Base, but to keep it, we've got to cultivate, make it a place where the DOD wants to keep that base there, because that community is so appreciative. A warm, inviting, prosperous neighborhood, that's important.
So we got to figure out what can we do for the most people, and how do we implement that? And unfortunately, it just takes time and vision and leadership and consistency and money. None of those things are in large supply. It's hard to find people willing to spend their entire life pushing to fix these problems.
I got with some friends of mine and we formed the North Wichita Falls Advocates Group. Our goal is to reach out to the city to put some effort in the north side. And this high school issue of moving and closing Hirschi High School, I said, that's gonna hurt our neighborhood. I said, if they close that high school down, that's gonna impact economic development here. And we need economic development in the north side.
In nearly every bond issue, there's a discussion about building new high schools because our buildings are so old. But in that process, over the years, the school board always thought that it was better to start bringing the elementaries more up to date, and then the middle schools, and then the high school would be the last piece of the master plan. If you watch some of the other school districts and some of the other cities, they tend to have bonds every 5 to 10 years to keep adding to and then developing their facilities. Where in Wichita Falls, for some reason, we built Ryder and Hirschi about the same time, and then we did not build anything new for a long period of time. And so there was an element that voters that just did not want to increase taxes and did not want to increase the facilities. So we are building 2 new high schools, 1,900 student capacities, that will have to redraw the lines to turn 3 zones into 2 zones. When they do that, they will take students from all 3 zones and they will turn those into 2 zones to blend into 2 high schools.
Our kids go to so many different schools. Parents have transportation problems. When this was our school, parents could get from their house, they could walk up here and see what their kids were doing. When the school was on Plus Street, my mama and all her little kids come trampling up the stairs to check on me to see. And I was a good kid, I was a good student, but there she was. So our community supports our schools. I don't think there's anything that our schools would ask anybody to do that they would not do.
Do we need new high schools? Yes, we do. The old high and Hirschi, they're old, they're dilapidated, they're falling apart, but did they have to be so far away where they can totally destroy the economy and the neighborhoods that are adjacent to those schools? That's the danger in the decision to put them where they were.
I wouldn't say so much that I had rage about some of the things that are going on, but I have disappointment because some of the representatives on some of the school board members told us they had our back. They were not going to vote for this, and they were not going to vote for that. And when it came down to the vote, they voted for exactly that.
Every time there was a discussion about closing some elementary schools or changing the high schools up, it met resistance. And so, when you have a small city, everybody has a neighborhood feel to it. We had smaller neighborhood schools, and everybody had become accustomed to that. But as demographics change and as population changes, when a school declines to enough where it becomes inefficient, then it's penalizing all the taxpayers and all the kids that are not getting the same education maybe in every school. You can understand that nobody wants to lose a neighborhood school, but then if you want the school district to be equal, and if you want them to get better, sometimes you got to look at what is best for the overall student.
I think that no matter any time that you're going to make any kind of change, people are going to have concerns. And then you find out that kids are pretty resilient. Students find ways. It's usually the adults that have the harder issue with the change than the students do. And I found that just historically whenever I dealt with different issues and making changes, the kids are fine. The kids get it, they adapt.
I think sometimes parents have a harder time adjusting, but students are the ones who pay the price. Students are the ones that have to get up much earlier in the morning and ride a bus for an hour and a half. So maybe parents are the ones that are vociferous about their objections, but students are the ones that pay the price. When the bond came up and the decision was made for the locations of the two schools, it was very concerning to me. Over my years at Hirschi High School, I saw students who were unable to participate in extracurriculars simply because they could not manage the transportation.
I think it's going to be hard to transfer kids from District 5 and District 2 to two different schools, on different ends of town.
Well, when they build these new schools, we have to bus our children all the way over to the other side, the southern and western part of the city. That's not quite fair to the kids. Now, some people say, well, the kids drive and that. Well, you look at the economics of a lot of the places, neighborhoods in the north side and the central of the city. Maybe the family has a car, but you don't have all those teenagers driving like you'll see at the campus at Ratter or some of the other places. Why? Because the economics, the people can't do it. You look at the neighborhood around Hirschi High School, Borton Lane and around there. Those people are suffering. They don't have the things that some of the other parts of the city has. And I think that's where the city has let us down. I've been living on the north side of Wichita Falls for 36 years. And my opinion, and a lot of the people I talk to, my neighbors, we don't get our fair share of the pie. I'm disappointed in the city that they didn't do a better job of finding locations that could benefit each area of the city, because you've laid a tremendous challenge on us to keep our neighborhoods vibrant.
There will still be a school on the north side, but there's something about having a high school that brings pride and community.
Because there's a tendency, if there's not the activity of a school going on and all the things that they bring in, tendency to forget about those neighborhoods, forget about those areas. And once they're forgotten, nobody has a reason to go to those neighborhoods, then that east side happens all over again. They don't want that either. But economics are economics.
On the east side, there is lack of transportation, which from talking to the community, a lot of people are having issues getting to their doctor's appointments because they don't have vehicles. Buses don't run on certain routes. But however, if you go to different sides of town, there's clinics all over the place. So they're very limited in the variation of clinical treatment.
When this school closed, it was the hub of our community. Everything was built around Washington High School. We were the leopards. We did everything together. We didn't even have to go across the tracks to go to the grocery store or to the gas station. Now we have absolutely nothing. If you don't have a car or bus pass, you're out of luck.
My dad was on it was with the NAACP back in 1968-69. And he was part of the committee that helped integrate the Wichita Falls Independent School District. But we knew that we were getting the short end of the stick then because the school district was not integrated. None of the students from the south or west side of town were brought over to the east side of town. All the students from the east side of town had to disperse within the other part of the community. That caused a ripple effect because then this community over here started dying.
Their school was closed. They were bused to 3 different schools, new on the campus. They were the new unwanted kids on the campus. So it was different. They had to go out and scrape for their position. I think the same thing, if history repeats itself, and historians say it does, that the same thing will happen. When we mix all our kids together, they'll be okay eventually. And I just pray, it is my prayer that they will all mix in and do well. It seems to me that as an African American at that time, we were called blacks, we always get the short end of the stick. And then it takes us forever to get back on equal playing ground. Give me equal playing ground and I'm okay. But if I'm going to get the short stick every time, I am not okay with it. I am not okay at all.
Overall, it was important that we pass a bond. When people move to a new community, they expect their students to be served by schools that have new technology, new buildings that aren't falling down, that their students can learn in and be safe in. We should have done a better job of listening to every member of our community about what all students needed.
People want their children to exceed, period. Doesn't matter the color of your skin, your sexual orientation, your political affiliation, or your religious belief. You want your children to be able to succeed.
There's nobody at City Hall or at the Chamber of Commerce telling businesses, nah, don't go up there because we don't like those people. That's not how this works. Companies make their own decisions. The good news is we're starting to see more and more business growth on the north side. But the question remains, who's going to work there? Who will benefit from that? And if we don't bring added skill sets to the people that are already struggling, they're not going to reap any benefit from that. The north side will improve as a whole. But the people we're talking about today, the people that are at risk when you do remove a school or something key like that from the community, they're not going to see any improvement unless they can somehow position themselves to take advantage of that. And quite often that means additional education or some kind of vocational training that may or may not be offered right now.
It's funny because I was listening to a program and they were talking about how when you're up against a foe or you have a situation going on, whatever it is, you have a habit of thinking you're going to reach the plateau, that situation is going to be fixed, and it'll be fine forever. But it's not like that.
Anything can be fixed. As long as we have breath in our body, we can fix it. But it's going to take everybody working together first to recognize the problem and then to come together to try to find a solution. My hope for the future of Wichita Falls would be to grow.
Making it a place where our students who are graduating from the university or graduating from high school, they want to stay here and be part of making this better. But they have to have something here. And I think this pride, you've got to have a pride in where you want. And somehow the new high schools, when they come online, that pride has got to be a neighborhood by neighborhood pride.